leads and the way they are attached can mean the difference between success and failure. In this section, Kevin revealed how his thoughts and subsequent innovations have resulted in a number of advances from Nash.
The lead you use and the lead attachment can make a massive difference too, not only in the take rate but how many you land. It was at Harefield in the late 80s when I come up with the idea of the safety bolt bead, which is often known as a lead clip today by the copiers. Harefield then had gravel bars with huge swan mussels on top and really sharp flints. So if you hooked a carp and the line went over the top of these gravel bars, there's a very good chance you get cut off. The loss rate was colossal at times, 100%. Anglers were even playing around with steel traceroir, but it seemed to me that just going backwards. I remember back to the old days when we free lined before there was a lead attached to our line, and we generally played the carp in the middle layers or the surface layers. I think anglers don't understand what difference it makes having a lead on the line and how that holds the carp down. So I kind of applied those memories to Harefield. I'll never forget the day. I'm still scarred by it. I turned up there one winter's day, whereas we all would agree takes in winter are hard to come by, especially at Harefield. And in the space of an hour I had 4 takes, and each time I was cut off before I even reached the rod. This really brought the message home to me, and I started thinking. Then we was using helicopter rigs which ended in a link clip which we attached the lead to. Well, I cut the link clip back and put a bit of tube over it, so it ended in a little hook. To that I tied a bit of a fine mono and then the lead, and then hooked the lead over the hook of the link clip to take the pressure off the light line during the cast. So when I cast out, as soon as the lead hit the surface, it bounced off the link clip, and he was fishing with this weak link then. But a weak link you could cast miles without having to PV up. The difference was amazing. I wasn't at Harefield the next season, but my dear friend Essex John, he was. I think he caught over 70 carp that season, and when you bear in mind, up until then, any angler who caught 5 was a top rod at Harefield. It should be obvious, but we go fishing to land carp, but I really think a lot of anglers don't think about that deeply enough. They hook them, but they also lose a massive percentage of what they hook because they're not thinking about using proper strong tackle or overcoming problems like fish getting snagged up in weed. That's another area where ejecting your lead really comes into its own in weedy lakes. God knows how many thousands of carp are lost each year because the angler's fishing a rig where the lead doesn't come off and the fish is burying into thick weed. I really can't emphasise it and say it enough. I've been saying it for over 10 years. Get rid of your lead and you'll land 99% of your carp. It makes a stunning difference. In weedy lakes, not only can you get them up off the bottom before they can really bury into the weed, but if they do manage to get in the weed, the lead's not there to catch them. So with steady pressure you can get them out, landing everyone. We sell 2 types of lead clip, one which clips the lead in quite tightly, and so it will only be ejected if it hits a snag. I'm going to be perfectly honest here, the reason we sell that one is because most anglers don't want to lose their lead. They think, oh my God, that's £1 I've lost. But if I walked around a lake and said to every angler, give me £1 and your next fish should be over £30 in it, and you'll land it, I think they snatch my hand off. But that's the way it is. The safety bolt bead I use for most of my fishing is the weed version, where the lead much easier comes off. We've really played around and got the friction right between the tail rubber and the clip. So if it hits anything like weed, and you get a buffering effect in weed, so you need much less tension to eject the lead, it comes off clean. Another little thing I've learnt along the way, that if you remove the lead, you've got a rig edge in its own, because the carp can't use the lead to help get rid of the hook. So it's even a method I'll use on waters where there's no snags or weed. If the carp are really riggy, eject the lead, and they've got more chance of getting rid of the hook. I've heard some anglers saying with the weed version of our safety bolt bead that when they're long range casting or using PVA bags, the lead ejects, they can't keep it on for the cast or the impact. Well, that's going to happen because the amount of tension to keep the lead in the clip is going to be a lot less than the cast impact. It's easily resolved though. Just tie a bit of PVA tape around the clip and the lead for the cast. The lead permutation that's been very kind to me over the years has been running rigs. You see on a lot of heavily pressured waters that the majority of anglers are using fixed rigs. So again, just being different, they're using a different type of lead arrangement, in this case running, can catch the carp out. It's my favourite rig really for riggy waters, but unless it's weedy, if the lakes are weedy, then I go on the weed safety bolt bead, so I make sure I land them all. A problem with running rigs is they are prone to tangling on the cast. I developed a little bead, anti-tangle run bead. They're wicked, they get the lead near to the line, so they get very positive takes, and they're virtually tangle free as well. I would say certainly as tangle free as the safety bolt beads. I've read articles where anglers are using running rigs ounce leads, and they've been very successful. I really don't get it, understand why. Or maybe they're using them in really silty lakes or weedy lakes where the lead locks into the bottom. But for me, my experiences, I've never been successful on light running leads. We noticed in the 70s with pike, that's a fish that won't take any resistance. That unless we used a running lead around 4 ounce, they kept dropping the dead baits. I think what happens is as they pick up the bait and swim off, the lead swings round and they feel that and then drop the bait. So for that reason, I've always used 4 ounce leads when I'm using running rigs, and I get screaming takes. If I go down to ounce, 2 ounce, I can't get a take. Maybe it's just me. The other lead arrangement I use is the helicopter rig. I don't think there's any rig that's got the casting properties of the helicopter rig. It casts further and it's basically tangle free, so it's a one for me for extreme range fishing. I will attach the lead on waters with no weed or snags and not worry, but if there's any chance my leg could get snagged up, I go back to fishing it break off style with the the hook and the weak line, as I mentioned at Harefield. That's also a similar way I approach my chod rigs as well.